All right, so here we are in the
are.
new office. Pink couch sessions. And today we're going to talk about 5 or 6, depending on what we land on, lessons that we've learned from Chip and Jojo. They've just had a big impact on our life. We started watching
Fixer
Upper first season, right?
Probably.
We were like on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
So,
well, and we got to go to Magnolia a couple of times.
Yeah.
I got to stay at the Magnolia house, which was awesome. And it was a really great experience, but it was just more than that. It wasn't just like, oh, this is nice.
yeah, what did you learn about it?
Felt really...
What did you learn from them just by staying there?
Well, the first thing I learned was there was an atmosphere that made it easy to pray. Mm-hmm. It was like you could sense the presence of God there, which I think sets the tone for the rest of what they have done, which is just make everything extremely beautiful. But the biggest thing to me was that, like, I was there and I was thinking, man, you can just sense the presence of God.
And that's
here.
with
so impactful.
You were there
to
with like 10 other girls, right?
Yeah. And I'm talking about going to like their property, the Magnolia silos and the bakery and all that stuff. That little property, which is amazing, and if you get the opportunity to go, you should definitely go. But I even got the opportunity to stay at the house because a friend of mine ended up renting it, and it was a fun little story. But anyway, she rented it, and I woke up early in the morning, and I was kind of like, what do I do now? And I was like, I guess I'll just, spend some time praying because nobody else was awake. And it was like life-changing time there. Yeah. It was just, the groundwork was laid. It was just easy.
Yeah, that's so
just
cool.
Dive in.
All right, well, let's get to the list. So
okay.
First thing on the list is that their obedience to God has just been, I don't know, really cool to watch.
Yeah.
They were at the height of the show with Fixer Upper, and they quit the show.
Right.
And everybody was saying that you're insane for doing this. Like, no one quits at the top. You wait till you're on your way down, and then you bail out. And Chip commented on that a little bit, and I want to read this. So he said, despite the fact this is extremely risky and maybe even a bit irresponsible, we feel like it's going to be the right decision for our family moving forward. We've prayed about it and we've thought about it, Chip says. It did not come lightly. Obviously, we've got this beautiful business here in Waco, and people come from all over to visit our store here, and in the big picture, it's a risky play. And he said, people are like, you're crazy. It'd be crazy to leave this thing at the height of it. Give it another year. Let it run out of gas. And he says, and we kind of laugh, and we're like, you know what? That's not who we are. And I just like that, because that's what I want to be when I grow up. Just obeying God in the face of everything, and when it just doesn't make any sense, but when you're just like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, well, not only that, like, we have had some taste of that with, the sabbatical year and some things like that. But I think what's different about them is there's a lot of people who have a lot of, natural earthly wisdom and maybe even some spiritual wisdom that are saying this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what we feel like we're supposed to do, and we're doing it, and they stuck to their guns and they just went for it. And that's impressive.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, and next on the list is that they prioritize marriage and family, which is like crazy to think about. With everything they have going on, it just seems like it would be so easy to let those priorities get out of whack. What are they, like 5 kids or something now?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, just millions of things going on in their lives. And yet it's so evident, and obviously no one knows other than their family, but from the outside looking in, it really appears like they prioritize their marriage and their family really high, second to God. And
it appears not only just their immediate family, like them and their kids, but also their extended family seems to be really involved in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, we ran into a couple different people who were part of their family in one way or another, or really close friends when we were at Magnolia. Like, it's a family business. They bring a whole bunch of people in, which is really cool.
Which I also think is really good for kind of keeping them in check and keeping their heads the size that it should be. I would imagine that if you have your mother around going, okay, let's just take it down a notch.
Yeah.
It really just brings you back down to reality instead of what could happen for them with the amount of fame and how quickly it came to just become unreasonable.
Everybody being yes men around you. Yeah, whatever you want, we're going to bow down. And
So that's really, wise.
Another thing I love about them is that mediocrity isn't in their vocabulary. And
it's true.
I was just talking to a friend yesterday about this, I don't know how to describe it, but basically glorified hotel resort inn thing that's here in Tennessee, and just the level of excellence with which they do things. It almost wants to bring, makes you bring tears to your eyes. It's just so good. And that's just how God does things. He does things with excellence, and I think it honors him when we strive to do things with excellence. And they just embody that. And that was another thing when we were at the silos, just walking around there. There's something about it. There's a level where they've taken it up, and it's not about spending as much money as possible. It's not about that. It's just about doing things with excellence. And it's a different thing, because you can throw tons of money at a thing and it not be excellent.
Yeah, for instance, the bathrooms were nice. And there are thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of people there a day.
Yeah. I don't know.
And the bathrooms were nice. You know what I mean? It's like there wasn't trash all over the floor. They weren't disgusting. It wasn't like one of those, we've all been to those places, those bathrooms where you walk in and you're like, oh man, they really need to work on these bathrooms. But it was like everything was taken care of. The people were friendly, It was way beyond the idea of spending a ton of money to make something nice.
Yeah. All right, another thing I like is that, and this is something I picked up from the book, Chip's book, they call people up to be their best and to operate at their best. And this is, I think, part of the excellence thing, but they're drawing excellence out of their employees. And
which I think is a different thing than demanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best.
Yeah.
It's like pulling it out of people instead of just demanding that people do things a certain way or do them to a certain level of excellence. It's more just calling them up into who God created them to be.
Yeah. And if you read Chip's book, which I do recommend, it's a good book. It's a good read. It's enjoyable because it's Chip.
We listen to it and he reads it on the audiobook, and it is really fun.
But then on top of that, like, he really does have a lot of good wisdom and insight. And it was just good. Picked up a lot of things. But anyway, one of the things that became really apparent in listening to it is that he does this. He calls his employees up to an uncomfortable level sometimes. Some of the things that he had employees doing, like on their first day, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be scary, but he sees what they're capable of and he pulls them up. And
he's not angry when they make a mistake.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's really nice, because I think you see that a lot with bosses who might have these really high expectations and then get really frustrated if you don't meet them. Whereas based on the book and what we read, it appears that that's not how he handles things, and that he's okay that mistakes are made, but he wants you to continue to grow and to move forward, which is beneficial for the employee, and I just really like that.
Yeah, it is beneficial for the individual, like their person.
Yeah.
It creates who they're meant to be, who they're called to be, and who, what God has for them in life, rather than putting shame or guilt on someone who can't skyrocket to whatever you want them to be immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and the last one, I think we'll make this the last one, is that, and this I think we all know about Chip, but maintaining a positive attitude, like, throughout everything. And if you know much of their story, like, they've been through some stuff. And
right. It's not like all roses.
Yeah.
The amount of debt and stuff that they took on, and it kind of came back to get them at certain points of time.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure there's tons we have no idea about. But
right.
Chip said, I'm a firm believer that the only thing I can control on a daily basis is my attitude. And and again, if you read the book, like, you'll see, like, this guy just has some insane level of, I don't want to just call it optimism, because I think it really is birthed out of, like, a faith and trust in God, that God is going to work, Romans 8:28, work all things together for his good. But one of the things that happened was I think there were some thieves who stole something from him, like some young boys or something like that, because he had given something. And basically he concluded that, I don't care that someone steals from me. I'm not going to draw a conclusion about making this kind of decision and never do that again because someone stole from me one time. Like, I'm gonna continue to choose to be optimistic that people aren't gonna do that. I'm gonna choose to see the best in people. And it's just like, yeah, brother, that's right, that's right, that's right, Chip. And
Preach.
Anyway, yeah, so I recommend the book. Check it out. We'll have a little link to it down in the description below. And if you enjoyed this, if this is helpful, if you want to hear more stuff like this, hit like, subscribe if you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's all.
We should mention that we don't know Chip and Joanna personally.
But we're going to soon.
But if you're interested, Chip and Joanna, if you're listening.
Yeah. And if you know them, send them the video so we can give them virtual high fives or something. All right, all for today. Be blessed, be blessing, and we'll see you soon. And if you haven't already, head over to SeedTime.com so you can get your free email course from us on how to master your money using biblical principles. So that's all for today. Have a great rest of your day.